Hi, this is Phil, and I'm here to tell you all about the Capes and Lunatics Patreon. Don't miss out on our comic book creator interviews, including our monthly Chichester chats with comic book legend DG Chichester, superhero movie brackets in our search for the worst comic book movie of all time, and many, many more specials, all completely uncensored. Access starts for $3 a month, full video when you pledge $5 a month. Check out the link in our show notes or go to patreon.com/CapesandLunatics. Hope to see you there.
Avast me hearties, and welcome once again to Full Stream Ahead. I be your Captain Charlie, the Professor Esser, and with me as always is me skinny rich friend and first mate.
It's Mozz.
Welcome, Mozz. Tonight, in a world of capes and lunatics, gods and monsters, you may find yourself in a tangled legal mess. And when that happens, you need She-Hulk, Attorney at Law. Season 1, Episode 7, The Retreat. Jen visits Blonsky's wellness retreat, meets new friends, and gets in touch with her inner She-Hulk. Our director this week is Anu Valia. We get our created by for television credit going to Jessica Gao and Zeb Wells, apparently. John Buscema created She-Hulk along with Stan Lee. And, of course, our hardest working people in show business, once again, are Dana Schwartz and Cody Ziegler. All right. So
I want to visit this retreat. This retreat looks like a good time.
It looks nice, man. Well, see, this is what you get if you're a wealthy enough supervillain wanting to go through your work through your issues, man.
No, he seems like a good time. I would probably easily fall into a cult led by that guy.
And to be fair, I think that is sort of what we're, that's the interest. So that
looks like a fun cult, man.
Oh, it does. This is one of the most interesting questions about male toxicity. Because, when a lot of men's groups started, they started as really just a way for men to examine their emotional selves, come to terms with who they were and how they saw themselves. And it was a very positive and building thing. Even things like the incel movement, if you go far enough back, started with just some real honest discussions about who people were as people and how they approached the world and how that is much more of a reality than how other people are treating them. But it does get co-opted by the darkness, as it were, and that is the interesting thing. And that's sort of my take with the retreat in this is how much of this is a legitimate urge of people to just better themselves, and how much is manipulation by the intelligentsia. And
do you think Blonsky is part of the intelligentsia? I think that's a separate thread, don't you?
You see, I don't know what is and what isn't. That's the thing. There's all these little threads around, and how they all piece together is debatable. And that's sort of the thing about a guy like Blonsky, and this is why I think,
because Blonsky can do the same thing she can, right? He can turn into Abomination whenever.
No. And also, not for nothing, I think that if he was part of the intelligentsia, getting Blonsky's blood might be useful,
No, but why would he need it? He already knows how to do it.
Well, exactly. Well, I mean, that's the
Or he
thing.
could experiment on his own blood. I don't think he's part of...
Yeah.
I think the intelligentsia seems like small-scoped.
I mean, possibly.
Short-sighted. So I don't think they're... I mean...
but this, and again, this goes into this idea of infiltration of what is a positive with the negative, and that is where I think Wrecker shows up, Nick Gomez, because that is the big reveal at the end, which also again comes in as something of a just in time, let's trigger Jen at this moment. It's like if every piece is being put into place, then, and of course along those same lines, if every piece is being put into place, that doesn't mean that everyone is in on it. It's just that everyone is planning, that someone is planning everyone's reactions, and this is how it's likely going to be. Because obviously, as one can say, Blonsky can wipe the floor with anybody in this room, with the possible exception of She-Hulk. But he does remain calm. He does not want to, as Jen says in this, he doesn't want to go back to prison. He worked really hard to get out of prison. If just getting out of prison was his only goal, he could have escaped many times. But he actually felt that, no, if I'm going to get out of prison, I need to do it the right way. Which is a very...
someplace to belong.
Exactly.
And if I escape without that, then I don't belong anywhere. This way, I can at least establish myself somewhere, doing something, and be of value.
Exactly. And I do think, and that's why I don't think Blonsky, here's what I'll say, as I can imagine Blonsky being aware of more than Blonsky is saying, but I don't think Blonsky is part of the intelligentsia.
Yeah, I don't.
And I don't think Porcupine or Manbull or Saracen or El
Aguila or something like that?
Yeah, El Aguila, which means the eagle. I don't think they're part of it either. Although it was an interesting aspect of it when I was thinking about this, because each of these people have things the intelligentsia wants. You have armor tech from the Porcupine, and they keep on asking him, can you take off the armor? And what he does, says, well, we'll just leave the armor on until we can get it properly dry cleaned, but the idea that the intelligentsia might want that armor. They certainly want a sample of vampire blood. They certainly want a sample of whatever Manbull is. And they definitely are going to want El Aguila, because El Aguila actually is a mutant. So he is a mutant with bioelectricity powers, as we saw. And that's, so there's a lot of things. There are a lot of people here that are interesting in that they each have unique powers that the intelligentsia could want to acquire.
To me, it just felt like they're setting up like the ragtag group of like unexpected heroes that come in at the last second and be like, "Oh, those guys." Yeah.
Well, I think that's a reality too. But I also think that it might be a situation where, that's the thing. I get the feeling there is going to be a moment where there is an army of Hulks, and that,
army of Hulks? Wait, what? Because they get the blood?
Yeah. That we're going to get.
Oh, wow.
In fact, if it follows the history, I guess in the comic books, there is a cousin Ched who did get juiced up.
Wow.
But it goes poorly for him.
Poor Ched.
Yeah. Poor Ched, yeah. Although that is the other possibility, that Ched actually, being the other genius in the family, actually is the head of the intelligentsia.
But why would he want to destroy Jen?
Well, he shouldn't, but maybe, it's just a crazed fan theory that I have, that Ched could be, maybe, and it could just be that because no one respects him because he didn't go into law or science. So no one
you
recognizes...
hid your genius behind this veneer of a stoner yourself. You didn't let anybody see it. So what did you expect?
Yeah, exactly. And that I think is true. I don't think that Ched is the Hulk King, but I'm just going to say, if they have that reveal, I would not be shocked by that reveal. I would not be shocked by the reveal that Ched was the Hulk King the whole time. But Todd's still the leader, but or still the not the leader, but still the lead candidate to be the Hulk King. Although, actually, like I said, we could see the leader in this before too long too. We live for those last minute cameos in this world.
Yeah, I thought the porcupine guy was going to be somebody more. Like, I thought they were holding back like a surprise reveal, but I didn't recognize him.
No, that's actually his first gig, I think. So, but he's, they got a lot of great LA improvers. So he's like, it's like if you were in the LA improv scene, you would know him.
Oh, okay.
Perhaps. But this is his first gig. And honestly, to get your first gig in the MCU, that's pretty good.
It's pretty awesome.
Because no matter what happens in your life, you are always going to be able to go forward to conventions and sell your headshots for $5 a pop as the porcupine. Because again, to put the porcupine in here is to create a situation where, you do have these, people who, have built their own superpowers. And because they've built their own superpowers, that's something that's going to come out. And we do have Armor Wars just recently rediscussed as becoming a movie. So we may not have seen the last of Porcupine, even if it's just in small little roles. I'm sure we're going to see Porcupine before the end of this in the next 2 episodes, because we do know we go back to see the Abomination as the Abomination from the trailers. When it happens, we don't know. My big belief is that is when he gets the right to be the Abomination, because he's going to be joining the Thunderbolts, and it just hasn't been revealed yet. So that's sort of one of those things.
Interesting.
But that's just my theory. But we're going to see what happens. But we do see that when he's walking into a room in one of the trailers, it's just other men in the room as he's walking in. Fun fact about this episode is it opens up a real can of worms as far as legal issues as to who is responsible for the damage to Jen's car. Obviously, Jen's car will be taken care of by her insurance, but her insurance is going to go out and seek reimbursement for it. And the person who is most likely the primary person to seek out from is Blonsky and his he makes a ton of money. I'm sure she's just gonna be like, all right, just fix it and move on. I can also see that being well, actually, that's not usually how that works. It's not really her choice to go after. Depending on what her deductible is, presumably they're going to have to pay to fix her car regardless. And they're going to say, well, how did the accident happen? Because first off, they have to see if it's covered by the insurance. Now, I'm presuming she has a superhero rider because she is a superhero. But, if perhaps she did not have a superhero rider, it might not be covered. And then she would have to sue Blonsky for it. But Blonsky definitely has to have a superhero rider because he has a superhero community at his ranch. So you're going to have damage done by superheroes covered. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to get insurance on the place. So it's an interesting question. To me, it's interesting because it gets into the law of it and who's responsible for the damage to Jen's car. But if the insurance company pays for it, then they are going to seek out reimbursement from the other insurance company who holds the liability on the case. So that's fun. That's interesting. And of course, throughout this whole thing, we get the underlying premise of this is that Josh ghosted her. Basically, 3 dates, got to the sexy times, and then left while she was sleeping. But here's a fun, crazed fan theory. Okay. On the second date, She-Hulk or Tatiana or Jen leaves him, doesn't go to have him, then realizes, I actually would have liked him to come in, goes back out, and he's gone. What if, in that moment, that's when the real Josh got kidnapped and replaced by a life model decoy of Josh, who would then go on to be the Josh who steals the blood? Because it is, and this is an interesting thing. There are marks on her shoulder, but we never see that he has a syringe. And we saw the big syringe at the end of the last episode as a way to pierce Hulk's skin. But if she's in Gen form and we can just, use a little nano probing, maybe we can get the blood without her even realizing it. So that's an interesting possibility, that actual Josh was kidnapped by the intelligentsia and replaced before the third date by a life model decoy.
I mean, that'd be a stretch, but maybe.
Well, if we introduce them in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., the technology exists.
Sure.
I'm just saying, it's a possibility.
Right. I'm okay with him being the bad guy, though.
No, I'm okay with that, too. I mean, honestly, I think that everything about him, like, to me, the minute that he starts chatting up the clearly very drunk girl, that's a big red flag, and so, yeah, I think that Josh probably was the bad guy, and the whole taking her picture while she's sleeping, that's just creepy.
Yeah. I guess he was just letting her know that the job was done, like proof. That was just a business thing, I think.
I think it was a creepy thing. I mean, it might have been a business thing.
But
yeah.
His intention was to complete the job. I was here. This is proof. I got that thing. Look, I was here. And he
Yeah, but like I said, in the situation of the story, I do feel that it's like that. Him taking that picture could cause problems as well for Jen, because even though it's not a nude picture, it is it is a sexy picture, I guess, and so and just shows how easy it is to get to her. Anyway, all right. Final thoughts on tonight's episode, Mozz?
Really good one. I really enjoyed all the conversations inside their little safe space. It was a really great. It was just surprising to see the head of the guys that attacked her there. And I kind of bought that he was on a road to redemption. I kind of bought that all of those guys had bought into what Blonsky was selling, and they were there for good reasons. I really liked all of them, and I can't wait to see them become sidekicks and actually get to fight. I think those guys are really great.
Well, let me just, and I don't mean to rain on your parade,
but
there was several times in that scene where what's what I'm looking for? Where people start to say things, and so for example, when Saracen says, maybe he just wanted your blood.
Yeah.
And then immediately he's like, no, let's not go crazy. So that's why I honestly think that the Wrecker is still a plant. I think
that sense. And I think like it was one of those things where they set that moment up and you're like, everybody's the intelligentsia. And then certain times where they send her into the yurt, I was like, maybe they're just trying to soften her skin up so that when they eventually stab her, it'll go in easier. And you start thinking of all these thoughts. But then like she's been just Jen this whole time. And I don't know. I just didn't want them to be the bad guys. And then when you find out that it was Josh, you're like, okay, good. So those guys are all good.
But within that concept,
we don't know that yet. But at least those guys, I believe.
Yeah. But within that concept, but that's the thing. I think they're good. It's just the Wrecker. I don't think is. I don't trust the Wrecker. Yeah, the Wrecker. That was the guy who jumped her previously.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah. And that's sort of the thing. And there's a lot in that, like where there is this quality of a platitudes that people put out towards these other characters that, at times make me go, should we really trust that? Should we really trust that is who they are? So as an example, when when Manbull says, "If it makes you feel better, I will apologize." When he says, "You should apologize to my Prius Prime with money," and he's like, "No, I'm gonna, if it'll make you feel better, I will apologize to your car." But again, it's not about apologizing to the car; it's about fixing her car and dealing with the damage you did. So that's where you get those platitudes. With regard to the wrecker, I feel at several points he does try to steer the conversation in a way that helps the intelligentsia. Now, at this point, the intelligentsia,
because they do convince her to delete the contact from her phone,
exactly,
and that really is like eliminating a pretty interesting trail for detectives to follow. That's so interesting.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. It's like it gets rid of that evidence, and again, it doesn't have to be everyone else. It can just be the wrecker as the infiltrator. Because what's interesting is at this point they know that they have the intelligentsia has the blood. So at this point, everything else could just be them trying to hide what's going on, so that, in effect,
this is just cleanup.
Yeah. Well, it's just the idea that if I'm losing my train of thought here.
That this is just them getting rid of evidence after the fact that they've accomplished it. So they've got the
exactly. But I think this might have been a contingency plan because they would have known that Jen might have had to gone up to the ranch, and it's best to infiltrate it, especially if it is, as it is, a men's group for superheroes.
Right.
And you are very toxic males. You want to, now, you want to infiltrate it,
Did you see any chickens on the farm? I didn't see any chickens.
Oh, yeah. There was a lot of chickens.
Okay.
You even actually see him call out Princess. So, which was a very beautiful black chicken. And these are definitely, I think these are probably show chickens, rather than per se, laying chicken. Although all chickens lay and all chickens will lay, so you can have your show chickens provide what do you call it, eggs for your yurt as well. But I do think that these are primarily show chickens to have that human interaction with the animals.
The therapy chickens.
Therapy chickens, exactly. Which honestly may not be the smartest idea I've ever heard of, but at the same time,
I think chickens are. I used to have a pet chicken when I was younger, and
okay. Well, then maybe I'm wrong. And that's free range chickens. Maybe they are very nice. Most of the chickens I've had interactions with have been caged chickens, and those guys are ornery. No. But maybe it's because they're in a cage. So
yeah, happy
for your chickens,
fun,
people.
Man. Happy chickens are cool.
Yeah, I can imagine. Okay, so there we go. But yeah, well, these are definitely show chickens. So because they had that, because Princess Silkfeather actually has a very beautiful black coat. So that's and that's a prize among show chickens. So, and yes, there are show chickens. You can look it up. It's a whole breeding community, as much as any other animal. And those actual birds get really beautiful. They do. When you're breeding show chickens, they actually get very beautiful. So, okay. Enough about that. But like I said, I do think that even if Abomination is not in on it or is not aware of it, his group is something that the intelligentsia is infiltrating with Wrecker, because I would
like to think that if Blonsky is evil, he's got bigger plans than these paltry little, schemes.
Well, exactly. And I do think that is the case. I do think he is looking for his next gig. And I definitely think, like I said, I definitely think that the urge to get Porcupine to take off his armor is part of what intelligentsia wants, because they want to know what that technology is. How does that work?
I'm still clinging to the belief that was just a genuinely nice moment where everybody was like, I'm here for you.
Yes.
Like, you know?
Well, yeah, but
we're here for you to see if she can do it, you can do it too, and he finally does. And it was just a kumbaya. I'm happy.
And two things can be true. That both the intelligentsia wants the secret of the armor, and that his support group definitely wants him to not be a porcupine, not always put up the guards. So anyway, that's all of that. If anyone else out there has opinions on this, if you think Porcupine is in fact the Hulk King, or anyone else, any crazy theory you would like to tell us, you can write to us in that old-fashioned email way at CapesandLunatics@gmail.com. That's Capes and Lunatics, all spelled out, one word, @gmail.com. And of course, call us. If you don't want to write it, you can just tell it to us and yell at the top of your lungs how wrong we are at 614-382-2737. That's 614-38-CAPES. And go down to the link tree in our show notes, and that's linktr.ee/CapesandLunatics. And when you go to Capes and Lunatics, you will be able to see all of our shows, and we have a few. Get all of our merch, like aluminium mugs, and give us money. Either just give us money just because you love us, or join us and become a Patreon and vote on the worst superhero movie of all time, which could be anything. And in the meantime, Mozz, if they just want to talk to you specifically, get you away from the crowd and say, are you safe? Can you speak? How can they do so?
They can email me at mozzmanzor@gmail.com, or find me on Facebook under Mozz Manzor. That's MOZZMANZOOR.
All right. And then, of course, you can always write to me in that old-fashioned email way the way our mothers and fathers once did at superconnectivityblog@gmail.com. That's superconnectivityblog, all one word, @gmail.com. And, of course, follow me on the Twitter as I live tweet things when I feel like it, at Charlie Esser. That's CharlieEssessr. Look for the two E's in the middle.
For quality. Bing!
Thank you, Mozz. All right, you landlubbers, you come to the end of another adventurous, raucous sail upon the briny seas of the internet and all of its content. We hope you come again next week as we once again sail full stream ahead. Arrgh.